Yo, you know what time it is. It's your boy Trevor David Jones, and I'm back at it, okay? It's time to do another TDJ ranks, as you read in the title, and these are the top 10 video games of all time. Okay, nerd culture is comprised of numerous things, and video games are one of the fundamental elements of nerd culture. So it's time to go over the top 10, of all time. Let's do it. Number 10, Okami. Okami is a classic video game. It came out toward the end of the PS2's life cycle, so a lot of people maybe really aren't up on it, but it's had numerous re-releases on the Nintendo Wii, I think, on the Switch, and on the DS as well. At any rate, it's just an all-time game. It takes the Zelda formula, the kind of like pseudo open world, but like action adventure, but throws these crazy spins on it. Okami, Amaterasu, is a Japanese goddess, but like the top one. So pretty much all powerful. In the course of the game, you're playing as a wolf, a white wolf, and you unlock various powers as the game progresses. You got all these weapons. It's super cool. And one of the major mechanics of the entire game is the brush mechanic, which is the way you navigate through the game and interact with the world. But you actually pause the screen or like pause the game and use your brush to do various techniques across the whole world. And it gets you through the game. It's just crazy. It's not a gimmick at all. It's legit, and it just adds so much to the game. Not to mention the game itself is just beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's done in the traditional ukiyo style of Japanese painting, so it's got that like wash, like organic look to it. It's just gorgeous. Not to mention, the game is developed by Clover Studios, which eventually evolved into Platinum Games, which, as we all know, is like top tier gaming, like royalty, it's super producers. So the seeds were there from the beginning of just this awesome company, and it's just an overall great game. Super emotional. It's just go play Okami. There are numerous platforms it's on if you haven't played it for some reason. Totally worth it. To the point that it's my number 10 video game of all time. Number 9 had to be done. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, Smash Ultimate is on this list because it just did what no one thought could be done, but really almost should have been impossible. It took characters, properties from all over the place, multiple different companies, Nintendo, Sega, Square Enix, so on and so forth, and put them all in this video game, but like a lot of characters. And it's good. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has an almost endless number of collectibles. The battle system is very deep. The game itself is gorgeous. It's a modern classic. Some people have said that there's nowhere to go past Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I don't believe that. They'll figure it out. It may not be the next game, but at some point in the chain, it will get better. You've got Sakurai on the team. He made the game. So yeah, you can never count this man out. You can never count Super Smash Bros. Out. And I mean, Super Smash Bros. Is deep in the game since the beginning. N64, Melee, some people still say that one's the best. But Ultimate is just the best because of what it's done, and there's so much in the game, and it's a great game. So yeah, Nintendo Switch, a timeless, a modern classic. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a definite, a lock for the number 9 spot on this list. Number 8. Okay, now we're getting into kind of classics. Well, no, modern classics. We're going to get to the true classics, the old school classics a little bit later. Persona 5. This game came out back in 2016, 2017? But it is, again, it's a modern classic. 5 years ago is not that long ago. Persona 5, some people say Persona 4 perfected the genre, but Persona 5 it takes everything that this series is about and just encapsulates it into this powerful package. That is I don't use the P word too often, perfect. It's pristine. It's complete. It's a complete game. I remember when I first booted it up and opened up those menus, and I was just like, do y'all see these animations? This is absolutely insane. Like, you're playing a game, and the animations for the menu are getting you hype? Are you serious? Come on, man. That's what Persona 5 is about. But it's got it all. The action, the story. And it's one of the few games, I mean, this is the point partially of the whole series, but where the action is almost like sublimated to the character building or like interacting with your fellow people aspects. Going through the town, your little part-time job, getting a little money here and there, and interacting with your compatriots. That's just as fun and engrossing, just that by itself, the life sim aspects, as the actual fighting, which is also extremely fun. Just crazy. Little tidbit about my experience with Persona 5. I got through it, I think about 110 hours, all the way through the game, and I got to the final boss, and I couldn't beat him. I was like, yo, what is this? So I looked at the strategy guide, all the different strategies, blah, blah, blah. I eventually realized that I just literally wasn't strong enough to beat the final boss. And this is Japan. This ain't no American game. This is a Japanese game. If you get to a certain point in the game and you can't progress, you just can't progress. It'll lock you. Like, too bad, so sad. We were, but do better next time. I put all that time into the game and literally couldn't beat the final boss. The reason was I didn't realize that not only can you talk to your fellow party members, you have to talk to them. You have to like hang out with them in order to learn new skills and actually upgrade your stats. I made it through the entire game and did not know that. So I just couldn't beat the final boss. I was gonna replay it, but I decided, 110 hours in, I know the story at this point. Can't really do it. Someone recommended Persona 5 Royal to me, which apparently is even better. It just crystallizes everything that Persona 5 did. But I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna just wait for Persona 6. I will play it. That's a guarantee. I'm going to play that game. But yeah, that was my experience with Persona 5. So next time I know to talk to my party members. So I have that knowledge with me now. But even with my experience in the game, made it to the end, Persona 5 is my number 8 spot on the list. One of the best games of all time. Number 7. Now we're getting into OG classics. StarCraft 1. Anyone in my age group, my generation, you know what it's like to boot up a computer. Maybe it was like at your cousin's house or something. And you just see those icons on the screen like Windows 98, maybe Windows XP. And you don't even know what the stuff is. You double click and something opens. There was all these old school games like Cave Runner. I might be making that up, but it'd just be like old school games that were just on the computer. And StarCraft is right along those lines, where you go to your homie's house or your cousin and you just click it and you're like, what is this? You're probably 10 years old, 11 years old experiencing this. But from there, it's over. StarCraft is just it, man. It introduced me, probably right alongside Age of Empires, to the idea of computer gaming. And it's just insane. StarCraft, again, it's just a complete game. It's complete. They made games different back then. It has all the elements. You're playing with the Terrans, the Zerg, the Protoss. Oh my God. The real-time strategy genre, it came to the peak with StarCraft. From the moment you open up, you got your SCVs and you're, getting your minerals and the graphics. It was all there. It's a beautiful game. The skill tree, Raynor. These people are locked, Kerrigan. These people are locked into my mind, Zeratul to this very day. Bro, Dark Templars? Power overwhelming? Yeah, the list goes on and on. It had the codes. There is no cow level, which I didn't find out until literally a couple months ago. So over 20 years later, that's a reference to Diablo, the cow level. I didn't even know that. Black Sheep Wall. Yeah, StarCraft just had all the elements, man. And it's just a classic game. I played it again as an adult because as a child or maybe as a teenager, I could never get past Terran Mission 10. I just couldn't beat it. I would skip around, play with the different races. But as an adult, with no codes, with nothing, I actually beat Terran Mission 10 and made it onto the Zerg. That mission is hard to this day, but I could beat it. Yeah, StarCraft, there's nothing missing from the game. It's technically tight. The graphics are beautiful. It had the voice acting. The technology itself is very interesting. It's engaging. It's just a classic game. And for whatever reason you haven't played StarCraft 1, go back and play that. It's still worth it. It still holds up to this day. StarCraft 2, again, is a gorgeous and an amazing game. It's hard to say if it's better than StarCraft 1 because it is great. But StarCraft 2 is worth playing. I would say that's a must play. But the original, the OG StarCraft 1, shout out Blizzard, on computer, play that. Number 6, rounding out the initial 5, Pokemon Gold and Silver. Yeah. There's a few games that could have gone in the spot, Well, actually, it would probably just be between Pokemon Gold and Silver and Blue and Red. But ultimately, it's got to be Gold and Silver. Gold and Silver took everything that Pokemon Blue and Red implemented, that it introduced us to, and just perfected it. Or the P word, it completed it. It was all manifested in Pokemon Gold and Silver. They had the time of day, the day and night, which was based off of literally on your game clock, so what time you were playing the game in real life. It had the berries. It had, it had the the additional evolutions. It had what, like 150 more Pokemon. It had the eggs. I remember, man, the eggs, carrying the egg around, it just made it, it was just more, everything was fleshed out to literally completion in Pokemon Gold and Silver. Man, I remember, like, once again, back in the day, things were very mysterious as to how, like, we got our hands on things or to how we even did things. We would try to play Pokemon Gold and Silver like on an emulator because I can't remember if we couldn't get the cartridge or what the situation was, but yeah, man, me and a friend of mine tried to play them on a computer because we were like, yo, we just got to play this. But yeah, the cartridge is obviously the best. You've got Lugia, you got Ho-Ho, the legendary bird. Everything just came together with that game. I would, as many people would probably say, Pokemon Gold and Silver is still the best Pokemon to this very day. All the other genres, versions, they would introduce something different. You know, there are different mechanics. There's always something additional in each Pokemon genre, each Pokemon installation. But Gold and Silver, to this day, those are just the best games. They took the blueprint of Blue and Red, increased everything that needed to be increased, and then like made it immaculate. The graphics in that game are beautiful. Not to mention, when you finish the game, you unlock the Kanto region, and you can go and play Blue and Red all over again. The whole game is in the game. Come on, man. It would be better than Blue and Red just for that, because it's got an additional game on top of Blue and Red. But it's just also a better game. Yeah, Pokemon Gold and Silver is the best Pokemon and also literally one of the best video games of all time. So, number 5, top five. The number 5 game of all time, going into the, the heavy hitters, all these are heavy hitters, but this is the top 5, is Minecraft. It has to be Minecraft. Now, Minecraft is one of those games that where if someone put it as number 1, I couldn't blame them. Minecraft could be the number 1 video game of all time. In my personal opinion, the words I use, Minecraft is the most video game of all time. I'm gonna say that again. Minecraft is the most video game of all time. It's a true and a pure video game. It's just, my man, Notch, he just got the essence down. The distilled liquid of what a video game is, and then like programmed it and made it. Yeah, man, it's got the, it's done in the pixelated style, which some people still to this day think pixelated games are more beautiful than, motion graphics or like more modern games. So it's got that element. It's got the freedom. It's got the exploration. You got the keyboard. It's just, yeah, Minecraft is crazy. You got survival mode. You got creator mode. You can just sit there and go through the world, mining deeper and deeper. They've got diamonds. You can make like magic. People can make like actual working computers in the game. What it turned out to be was just so far past what anyone had seen before, and also what you think it can even be when you first boot it up. Minecraft is just crazy. And we don't even really have to get into the phenomenon that it became. I personally think, well, my opinion is, not just video game YouTube, but what YouTube is today, the platform that I'm going to upload this video to, it exists in its current format because of a few different entities. But one of the main ones, if not the main one, is Minecraft. Minecraft took YouTube from like already pretty dope, people watched it, to just like this cultural presence, because people would just get on these Minecraft videos, the Let's Plays. Yeah, you cannot take away what video game videos have become, maybe even video games, and certainly YouTube itself, just because of Minecraft. Again, if someone wanted to put it at number 1 on their list, I couldn't argue with them. Minecraft could be the number 1 video game, maybe even computer program of all time. Up there with like Microsoft Word. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Minecraft, you can't sleep on it. I could spend a lot more time on this. Just what it is, the worlds that people have made in Minecraft, their creations. It's just, it goes on and on. So yeah. I mean, yeah, I can make a Minecraft video all to itself, but it's a cultural phenomenon. It's a world phenomenon. It's a phenomenon of computer programming, and well deserving of its place. Necessarily could be number 1, but Minecraft comes in at number 5 from my list of the top 10 video games of all time. Number 4, we're getting into real classics. Metroid Prime. Yeah, man. Yeah. For these next ones, for each one of these next ones, there's another game in the series that could be considered, but I decided to go with the one that I went with. Metroid Prime it was a revelation. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It just was. this was at a time where, and people still do this today, where they'll make a reveal for something, and if it's different than what people were used to in the past, they're going to rebel against it. There are numerous examples of this, but when they showed this 3D Metroid, 3D first person, not even third person, first person, everyone went insane. This is like kind of pre-internet. It's like right on the edge, but it's pre-internet. So you would just have to talk to your friends at school, Game Informer, and be like, yo, what are they doing making Metroid? First of all, it's 3D. Maybe we can swing with that. Third person, first person, and FPS. This game is going to flop. It'll never work, blah, blah, blah. That was like the group consensus. There was no way anyone could be more wrong. Metroid Prime was, it was a revelation, plain and simple. From the time you boot it up and you hear that atmospheric music, you got Samus with the HUD and like the strap, the gun pointed out into like, empty space. Nah, man, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. The lock-on system, the missiles, the planet itself, the visuals. It was almost, obviously Metroid in and of itself invented a whole genre, like the side-scrolling Metroidvania genre. I kind of avoid using like super pop culture terms, but yeah, I mean, that's what they call it. It more or less made that genre. But it could, when you play Metroid Prime, you're like, should this have always been a first-person shooter? It's just too good. The ice, gun, like I said, the missiles, the plasma beam, going through and getting each upgrade, the morph ball, getting each upgrade is just as satisfying and just as enjoyable as it was in the previous 2D games. You feel like you're unlocking like almost like a part of yourself in a way. Man, yeah, Metroid Prime, one of my favorite games of all time. I would say it's the best game on GameCube. Nah, Smash Bros. Melee is probably the best game on GameCube. Best game on GameCube. But yeah, Prime, right there. It's just a great game. You feel all the power of being Samus. It took everybody's expectations and shattered them. It's an amazing game. Revelation. Number 4 on my list. If for whatever reason you haven't played Metroid Prime, go play that. Number 4. Number 3, the top 3. So now we're at the podium. Okay, this is like, the heavy hitters of the heavy hitters. Number 3 game of all time is Final Fantasy VI, otherwise known as Final Fantasy III here in the West. Yeah, Final Fantasy VI was just advanced even at the time. It's advanced right now if you play. Go play it. The game is crazy. You got a dude suplexing a train in that game. You can do that. Yeah. Final Fantasy VI, I debated for a long time about which is the best Final Fantasy in the series. They say your first one is usually your favorite one, and then you also think it's the best. My first Final Fantasy that I played through beginning to basically end was Final Fantasy VIII. So for a long time, I was like, Final Fantasy VIII is the best. The one you play first is usually the one that you say is the best. It sticks with you emotionally. But as time went on, I had to, revise my opinion. People say it's Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy XII is a great game. But it's Final Fantasy VI. It's the height of the genre. It's just that good. Additionally, Final Fantasy VI is one of the 2 games that got me really, really into video games. The other one being Street Fighter Alpha 2. I saw my older brother playing it in New Jersey when I was a child. And those 2 games stuck with me. And to this day, Capcom and Square Enix are my favorite publishers, so take that for what it's worth. But yeah, one of the games he was playing, it was actually the final boss against Kefka. The wings flying, the church music, super scary. I think someone there actually asked her, like, what's this demon game y'all are playing? Because that last scene, man, it's kind of creepy, it's kind of scary. But that's beside the point. That was my first exposure to Final Fantasy VI. It's got it all. It's got the story. It's got the music. Again, people to this day think that pixel graphics are more beautiful than like modern graphics. They might be. It's just 2 different camps. But that game was the height of pixel graphics. Insane. The actual control system, the magic, the sprites on the screen, just beautiful. There's not too much you can say about Final Fantasy VI that's just like detractory, which is why it's number 3 on my list of games of all time. It's yeah. I could pick that up and play it right now. I think it's on Steam actually. I might play it because I'm playing Chrono Trigger, but I might go back and get into some Final Fantasy VI action. It's just insane. If you like RPGs, you probably played it. If you're not familiar with RPGs, that's a good place to start. Yeah, Final Fantasy VI, 3 here in the West. A fairly easy choice for the number 3 game of all time, and it's also the best Final Fantasy. So take that to the bank and cash it. The number 2 game of all time, Super Mario World. Ooh, yeah. You thought I was going to say Super Mario 64, which it easily could be, but it's Super Mario World. I actually recently watched a documentary, Gaming Historian, check out that channel, great YouTube channel, where he goes over, the road to Super Mario World. Super Mario 1, 2, which is a very, odd game for a number of different reasons. Super Mario 3. If someone says Super Mario 3 is the best Mario of all time, they could have a case for it, but it really is Super Mario World. They challenged themselves to take what they had learned from the previous 3 games and then use the power of the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, and put together the best thing they can make. And it was so good that it's debatable if they've conquered it to this day. Super Mario World, again, you go to your cousin's house or your sibling or homie or somebody, or you're being babysitted, and they have this game, they pop it in, and it's just like, things like this were like, I've said this for a couple of things, like Goku going Super Saiyan, they were too much for kids. It does something to your nervous system, like the colors, the music, the jumping. It affects you till the time you're grown. Like, this stuff is like way out there, and it was so good. Like I said, your babysitter whoever hands you a controller, like, here, you just play this. You get the A and the B button, you going through the little dots, and you go into the world, put the key. Nah. Yeah. Super Mario World was it was advanced, and it was supposed to be. They took everything they had learned from the previous games and intentionally squeezed out the essence of the Super Nintendo that they had at the time, and on purpose made the best thing that they could make. And Super Mario World has a lot of secrets too. You got the speedrunners, you've got the people who dive deeper into it. There's a lot of places you can go in that game beyond just like going through the worlds. But if you just choose to like pretty much, straightforward go through the game and play it just like in a very, like I said, straightforward manner, that's a lot of fun. It's an extreme amount of fun. It's got Yoshi. It's got the what's that? The raccoon feather that gives you the cape. The flying mechanics, bro, that was advanced. Almost too much for kids, but if you could get it down, you were moving and grooving through the levels. Yeah, man. You can't sleep on Super Mario World. And again, I could have said Mario 64 was the best Mario. I could have said that, but they've completed the genre with Super Mario World. Quick side note, why would 64 be the best? 64 is one of the best games on the N64, period. It basically created 3D gaming. The game itself is great. The controls, like moving Mario around with the analog stick, it's questionable if that's been surpassed to this day. You had Metal Mario, the opening level, the castle, the pictures. Yeah, I mean, I had to debate between Mario World and Mario 64, between, which would be the best one of all time. But Super Mario World, especially for the time, it was advanced. It was like futuristic, and it was complete. So I have to give my vote for the number 2 game of all time and the best Mario game to Super Mario World for Super Nintendo. Go play that if you haven't. But if you have any interest in video games, you've probably played that game. Number 1. What else could it be? The number 1 game. No Man's Sky, duh. You've got the universe. You've got mining for elements. I'm kidding. It's not No Man's Sky. But the sad thing about it is it could be. No Man's Sky could have been the best game of all time. Definitely top 5. Maybe even top 3. But, we don't have to go into what happened. We don't have to go into that. As I've said in a couple previous videos, I haven't pre-ordered anything since No Man's Sky. Nothing. I haven't pre-ordered a box of French fries since No Man's Sky. And people say, oh, I sneakily pre-ordered something. No, I have not pre-ordered anything since, 2016? Since No Man's Sky. Go look in the articles. Most of you, if you're watching this video, you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't, go do a little research. Actually, a lot of research. The chain will go pretty deep. But yeah, No Man's Sky, man. The game that could have been, should have been for all intents and purposes. But here we are. Okay, the real number 1. The number 1 game of all time, without question. Again, I always bring up the exponential curve and the normal curve. It's pretty far out there. The number 1 game of all time is The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Case closed. I don't use the P word, but yeah. Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, for all intents and purposes, could be considered a perfect game or just a perfect application. I'm gonna hold off on the P word. Complete, but like completely complete. Again, was this something that even should have been released to kids? It was too advanced. It's like you are going to play that game and you are going to remember it and it's going to be with you for the rest of your existence. It's just, and I'm 30 years old. It gets to you on a nervous level, on a biological level. It's just that insane. It's that good. The graphics, the story, the music. From the moment you start playing and you've got Navi, hey, like those sound effects, bro, linked up here for all time. Yeah, man. And then it's like you got two games in one. Actually, almost like three. Because Kid Link, you play through the temples, and then you grow up. And it's like literally another game attached to that game. Another game. And then some stuff happens at the end. The world kind of, I don't want to give spoilers for a 24-year-old game, but, you know, they might be older than that. But, yeah, it's like you almost get three games. Every item you get, like the goddess items too, like Din's Fire and, oh, man. It's just, once again, for a kid, it was just it was a very mystical kind of like thing to be involved in. And then you have the gameplay itself. The Z-Lock, they use the Z trigger on the N64 controller to, I would say, like its fullest capacity for its true purpose. Z targeting, that's something that continued in other games into the future. You know, just the idea of that. The item switching, the bow and arrow, the hook shot, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, I played through the whole game as a kid. Literally loved it. Obviously, it's here on my number one on the list. There was nothing left out of the game. The ocarina itself, bruh, nah. It's just too good. Yeah. And in my previous video, the top 10 actors, I had to like debate a little bit because, you know, even though The Rock is number one, it's kind of questionable to me how much better he is than RDJ. He is number one, but it's like, you know, is it that close? It's kind of close. Ocarina of Time, Super Mario World is amazing. Even if I had put Super Mario 64 on there, bless you, Ocarina of Time would be way out there in the exponential curve. Just like Kurama, the QB, is stronger than all the rest of the other tailed beast put together. That's why he's so strong. He's stronger than the other 8 put together. He's just not stronger than 8. Ocarina of Time might be better than the other 9 games combined. And then even better than that. It might be. Metroid Prime is pretty good, though. Yeah, man. Play it. You got Link. You know, I got the tunic, the different tunics. You know, the mountain. You know, it's yeah. It's too good. I had to debate for a brief second, shorter than I did for Mario 64 versus Super Mario World, but still a minor debate about Breath of the Wild versus Ocarina of Time. But it was kind of short, because Breath of the Wild is, again, if you put it at number one, it'd be hard for someone to fight you. But for me, personally, and I played all the way through Breath of the Wild, you know, Master Sword, Ganon, light arrows, the whole thing. Minor spoiler. But yeah, Breath of the Wild, it had a couple things that pure mysticism element of Ocarina of Time, it's not quite in Breath of the Wild, but it's a gorgeous game. I don't need to sit here and go off on Breath of the Wild. It's one of the best games of all time. It could be number one, but there's just a certain couple things that aren't there that are present in Ocarina of Time, which hold it back from being number one. One of those being, I don't want to throw too much shade. It feels kind of like a tech demo at times, like when you're experimenting with things, but that's getting a little bit into the weeds. It could easily be considered number one. I'm not going to fight anybody, but yeah, one of the best games of all time. But Ocarina of Time is a lot better than Breath of the Wild. Yes, I said what I said intentionally. It's a lot better than Breath of the Wild. It's a timeless computer program, a timeless application. Go play it. Boot up N64. They had some re-releases on the GameCube, actually. A few more out there, you know, I'm sure you can get your hands on. Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, my man Link, kid and then adult swole mode, Ocarina of Time is the number one, hands down, shut the book, lock the safe, best video game of all time. Take that to the bank. and cash it. We out here. Okay, now for some notable exemptions, because people have read the list, heard the list, and you're like, there's some pretty OP games that you left off. So I got to go over what they are and why they're not on here. Halo 1, 2, and 3. Halo is easily one of the best games of all time. Like I said, revelatory, transformational. You have to put Halo on that list. For me, Halo isn't on my list because I don't really play first-person shooters. Just not my thing. The guns, whatever. I just never really got into them. But Halo is obviously one of the best games of all time. God of War, specifically the PS4 version, which came out. It was one of the last games on the PS4. Maybe the last AAA release, actually. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, nigh near at the very last micron of the PS4's life cycle. God of War, for me, isn't on my list because if you watch any of my previous videos, not just on video games, but on anything, I'm not really into gore, like a whole lot of blood, things like that. And that's obviously one of the prime elements of the God of War series. So that's why it doesn't make my list. But I fully recognize that a lot of people say it is, clearly one of the best games of all time. Some people say it was the best game, period, on the PS4, which is a lofty and powerful statement. So I can't take away from that. I've seen the graphics. I've seen the influence. We all know God of War Ragnarok is out now. It's a very, it was a transformational game in and of itself, and it transformed that series. But for me personally, because of the gore, the blood, ripping people's heads off, that's why it's not on my list. Okay, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This might have actually been on my top 10 list. I don't have anything against Castlevania. It's not too over the top. It's got vampires and stuff in it, but it's not too demonic, so to speak. So I could play that game. The reason why I haven't played it is because I didn't have, what was it, on PlayStation 1 back in the day. I didn't personally have a PlayStation. And also, in today's times, it's just too expensive to get your hands on. That game is $300 on Amazon? How are you going to get a copy of Symphony of the Night? So yeah, but of all the games on this list, and one more, I plan to play Symphony of the Night. It looks great. It's got the RPG elements, the whip, the very pixelated artwork. It's right up my alley, but I haven't played it. It's expensive. That's why it's not on my list. Resident Evil 4, the same reason as God of War. And I've played Resident Evil 0 on GameCube, great game. Resident Evil 1, the remake on GameCube, amazing. And I played Resident Evil 3 and Code Veronica. I need to play Resident Evil 2 more than likely. The reason I haven't played Resident Evil 4, which some people say is the #1 best game of all time, and obviously the best Resident Evil, is again, the monsters. It gets a little too deep into the creepy elements, and it's just too much for me personally. Very horror geared, kind of gross. Can't play it. But obviously, I'm not going to take anything away from it. People say it's one of the best games of all time and the best Resident Evil. That's why it's not on my list. And last but not least, for now, is Ghost of Tsushima. I've seen people put this game on their best games of all time, and it just came out a few years ago. Some people say Ghost of Tsushima, which was the last major release for the PS4, is some people have it as their best game of all time. It's on their top 10, or they say it's the best PS4 game. I could see it being the best PS4 game. I haven't played it because at the time that it was released, I didn't have a PS4 at that particular point in time. I am definitely going to play Ghost of Tsushima. Don't ever sleep on that. Japan? Samurai? Katana? That's literally all me. Okami is my number 10 game of all time. Got some Zen beads on right now. You feel me? We out here. Yeah, I'm going to play Ghost of Tsushima for sure. But it's not on my list because at the time of its release, I didn't have a PS4. That's why it's not on there. But when I get the PS5, Slim version, always go Slim. Always wait for the Slim. Ghost of Tsushima is on my top list. I've got it in the Apple Notes of immediate downloads. I will play that game. And that's it. That's the video. There we go. That was fun, man. I love doing these. The TDJ ranks. These are powerful videos. Check out my top 10 actors. That was the last one I did. Actors are fundamental to nerd culture because movies are fundamental to nerd culture, and actors are the ones doing the acting. So we gotta suss them out. We gotta see where they stack up. So check that video out. That was a lot of fun. Black Panther. Oh my God. Go see that movie. Watch my review as well. Transcendent. That's the #1 word I can use to describe Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. A transcendent film. Marvel's best film. One of the best superhero films of all time, obviously. I have to see where it ranks in like films of all time and like action films. It was, yeah, man. Go watch that. You can't sleep on Black Panther. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Advanced and just amazing. Watch my review. Lego. Y'all know I love doing Lego videos. They're so much fun. Legos are fundamental to nerd culture. The last one I did was the Mandalorian Starfighter. Very fun set. A lot bigger than it looks on the box or on Amazon. Highly recommended. Go check out that video. And I got another great set coming up for y'all very soon. My Hero Academia. Yeah. Maybe my favorite thing to do right now. But these ranks videos are very fun as well. Go check out my last review. Go check that out, man. Like, My Hero Academia, it's not a matter of, what happened or I have to pick it apart. I get up here and tell you how dope it was because it's going to be dope. It's My Hero Academia. Check out my previous review. The next episode comes out on Saturday. Today's Wednesday, so expect that in the next few days. I got y'all. And that's it. That's it. Another edition of TDJ, holding it down for the world. The nerd culture world. The world in general. Y'all know what it is. As I always say, stay up. You don't want to be this way. Stay up. And that's it. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Little stance going on here. And peace.